Hey everybody, Bob Adams. It is, let's see, what is today? Today is the 16th of August. My gosh, only 2 more weeks for football. Real quick, Tony just contacted me. He's got some really interesting updates he wanted to share with you, and I got a couple of questions I'm going to hit him with later on. But I'm going to let him take over right now, and I will talk to you shortly. It's all yours, bro.
Hey, Bob, a couple more weeks till football, and then a couple more months till the Civil War for the
Uh,
election. I mean, we get
yeah, okay, right. Civil War for me is when Oregon State and Oregon play against each other, and that's it. So, all right.
Mr. Positive.
It's all yours, guy.
All right, guy. Thank you. Hey, everybody. Appreciate your patience. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over a couple questions here because they're very important. But I want to give you guys an update because there's a lot of articles out there on the central bank, the governor and his resignation. Is the central bank's governor's resignation an admission of failure or escape from the repercussions of the financial crisis that they're in? And we'll talk about that. But quite frankly, we don't know. You guys, all these countries, they're not like the West, where they have a Twitter account and the image is everything. These people don't care. They could care less. They barely give out enough information when people who actually do count in those regions ask them questions. So it's not like we don't know. The governor, the reason that if they resign or what they're going to do or how they're going to do it, but there is repercussions because of the financial situation. So bear with me because I'm going to build up to that. So I want to read this email from Jerry, and I thank Jerry for sending this to me because it's just a fantastic email, and it splices into what we're looking at in Iraq. But hi, Tony, is this correct? How will Trump drill baby drill drop policy reduce gas prices if the U.S. is in fact producing more oil now than during Trump's administration? U.S. crude oil production has officially hit a record of 13.4 million barrels per day. Daily oil production has increased by 22% over the last 4 years. All right, production since 2008, production has skyrocketed 350%, and we'll talk about that date here in a minute. So from 2008, production has skyrocketed from the United States 350% from 3.8 million barrels per day. The U.S. is now the world's largest oil producer, exceeding Russia's output by 35%. That's massive, ladies and gentlemen. And Saudi Arabia by 38%. The U.S. is dominating global oil production. And so here's the thing. The reason I wanted to thank you is because, A, empirical data, don't assume anything. You just went straight for the jugular, all right? And I love it because everything you just said is true. Not taking anything away from Trump, what it is, ladies and gentlemen, remember Biden, he's the Green Deal, right? And the far right and the far left propaganda, they have their own angles, but the far right propaganda was lining up the Green Deal with the Build Back Better, and the Build Back Better is not Biden's or the Democrats' agenda. That was a agenda from the top, from the conservatives. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But why did he, and he completely flipped. He's off script on what he ran. And the people that back him, they're all greenies, right? They want to shut down production. They want to save the planet, whatever. Who cares? The reason we're the number one oil producer right now, it's because of price discovery and the change in. So you guys, quite frankly, it was Ukraine. So where did Russia get their money? They got it from selling energy. So you had the European Union that cut themselves off from Russia's energy. That 33% of their GDP, boom, gone. And then the next thing that we did is, remember, you have OPEC Plus, which is OPEC and Russia. They team up and they try to corner the market so they can manipulate the prices into their favor. And so how did we knock them off the top? How did we do that? A 1-2 punch, keep Russia at bay, keep their economy down. We had to keep the oil prices down. And then, so what did Saudi Arabia and Russia say? Oh, we're going to cut production. And the oil prices go back up. So what did we do? It's like, okay, we're gonna produce even more oil, and it's going to go down even more. And so this situation, the energy war, basically what happened is the United States is like, okay, cheese dicks, watch this. We know you guys are going to go back and forth. All right, so watch this. Watch us push this button, and we're just going to produce the hell out of energy right now. That's what we're doing, and that's why those numbers are so big. Output 35%, in Saudi Arabia 38%. But that's the main reason. All right, so that, and Jerry, thank you so much for setting that. But that kind of sets the stage, because I'm going to read you the small little a report that I gave two companies. All right, so two main trends we're watching regarding Iraq's position in the global market. First is the policy trend, which focuses on the steps Iraq needs to take to integrate with Western markets. The second trend is the growing frustration from the West, which could lead to penalties. And that's where you and I are at today. That's the stage we're in today. These trends make the market situation highly unpredictable at the moment. However, it's important to note that even if Iraq doesn't fully succeed in these areas, the Iraq currency could still gain value independently of these factors, which is true, because remember, it's an artificial rate. It's manipulated by the note count. Okay, but here's the thing, you guys. In conjunction with the email that I got from, let me see here, Karen, it talks about, is Iraq going back into turmoil? And I'm not going to read, because some of the stuff that she says is very personal. So I'm gonna kind of ad lib here a little bit, all right? But basically, what her fear is that the United States caused the chaos in Iraq on purpose. And she even cited the movie The Green Zone. Well, I got news for you, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not throwing rocks at the person that sent me this. The movie The Green Zone's a pile of shit, all right? It's not reality. It's propaganda. So we'll talk about that. But here's the reality, right? So you guys remember when I talk, what is the threat coming from Russia? And I'll show you the book where they all, their strategy. And that is real simple. You create a counter strategy to that. Same thing with China. That book is called The Foundations of Geopolitics, by the way. And you guys know this because I talk about it all the time. China's strategy comes from unrestricted warfare. It's a book called Unrestricted Warfare, written by two colonels. All right, so how do you counter that? You take that apart, and then you counter that. Well, the Middle East has the same issue, but it's not one book. It's many books. It's books written by Bin Laden. It's books written by all these guys who created Al-Qaeda and ISIS. So it's not like we just freaking showed up. That's the problem with these conspiracy theories. It is the CIA is evil. It never talks about who we were fighting. We weren't, the Russians or the communists or the terrorists. It never brings up any of that stuff. It just goes right into it and starts making accusations. The reality is there's 20 years of documented threats from these people in the Middle East, and they started banking on it. They started everything was action, all right, and we responded. That's on top of Saddam Hussein wanted to control the energy markets. That's what he wanted. He wanted to create a power base for himself by having a say in the energy markets within OPEC and from a international perspective also. And he was willing to take over Kuwait. He was willing. He was threatening Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia begged us, ladies and gentlemen, to go into Iraq and take out Saddam Hussein. The guy he's a train wreck. So, there might be, you have people out there that are apologists, stuff like that. We have to do what we have to do. If they're going to kill hundreds of thousands, Saddam Hussein is going to kill 500,000 of his own people. This is before even any wars ever happened. He went got in a war with Iran and killed 1 million people. I think it was like 1.2 million people or something like that. All right. Well, that's what we're dealing with. Al-Qaeda. You've seen what they're capable of doing. So remember, I talked about the oil prices here and the the price discoveries. And this is very important, you guys. You guys have to understand this. Remember this. All right. So the oil markets and the energy markets started here in the United States. It is because of our discoveries and our technology that allowed us to do that. Well, we built an economy on top of that. Economy still stands today. Our economy is based on energy prices, and it's not going to change anytime soon. It doesn't matter, Biden or anybody comes up with any type of policy or anything like that. It is energy-based economy. All right, so we had control of it. Well, we lost control of it, or part of that energy, that price discovery, when OPEC was created. So the communists and these countries, they created an alliance. And by the way, so I have to make something very clear. These countries have a right, Iran, Venezuela, all these countries have a right to benefit from their own resources. The United States, as much as I love the United States, as much as I want to be on top, as much as I want to win, but we don't have a right to just go in and say, hey, this is how it's going to happen. So let's throw that out, throw that out there first. That is part of the mix. But the reality is that if you take out all the accusation, all that stuff, you had a competition on who's going to control the price of energy. And OPEC, they rose to the top. The next thing you know, Russia fully got into the and this is all relative to the when they started building their energy infrastructure, but eventually they rose to the top. So here's what people don't understand. Go back to 9/11. Where was that price discovery for the United States? Where was it at? So when we said that we were going to go into Alaska and we were going to start producing oil, it changed the price of energy, ladies and gentlemen. When we said we were going to go into the North Seas, it changes the price of the energy. And where was that price when we did that? Where was that price discovered at? It's discovered in the open markets. Where was that open market at? The Twin Towers, ladies and gentlemen. So you idiots out there that believe that it was an inside job. Think about this. All these guys are oil guys, and that's where they make their money, selling oil. All right. So, and then the second half is that they have stocks in other companies in the United States. Well, when the oil prices went up so high, people couldn't afford to, people that worked at Walmart couldn't afford to put gas in their car to go down to work that day. So we were completely exposed on the mistakes that we had made. But it had to do with $140 per barrel oil prices. It means everything. But that price discovery was at the World Trade Center. So I don't want to hear that was an inside job, because you have these guys out there, right, and say, oh, follow the money. Okay, let's follow the money. Guess who benefited most from 2000 to 2008? Russia and OPEC. We got it to us. Why do you think you have these guys that are out there throwing this propaganda, talking about the Davos crowd and all, saying how they would be able to say that if we were doing good? Now, would they? I don't remember Russia doing bad. Do you? Do you remember OPEC doing bad? No. No, you don't. That's because that the oil prices went up, and that's how they manipulated it. So we had to rebuild that floor. And so it went from the World Trade Center to where it is today. But that's how so it's a major, major deal. For the reason I'm bringing this up is because this guy's talking about how the United States is controlling oil production. Well, this is our final answer today. So going through that process, we control the markets and Western, like the Dutch Shell company and all these companies, all that stuff. They controlled part of the price discovery and control the markets. OPEC jumped in, Russia jumped in, and there's obviously there's other parts. I'm kind of just giving you a broad brush here of how it happened, and then and then we got clobbered a couple times. Well, this is our response to it. This is the latest and greatest, that in chronological order, that whole thing and how those events happened. This is the response, and we're on top. Those guys can't outproduce us. They are not high tech like we are, and they never will be. Their ideology, their collectiveness never lets their markets grow like our markets, and they never will. That formula is baked into the cake. They're baked for failure from here on out. That's how come I have so much confidence in the system. That doesn't our system. That doesn't mean we won't get clobbered every once in a while, or we have idiots run our country. But because it's kind of embarrassing. But the latest and greatest is us. How do we take control of the price of the energy markets? And it's to flood the markets with energy. All right. So in conjunction with that, Iraq is a huge part of that, or a piece of that. But what I just talked about, think about this, right? I'm going to go back to Zakari, because what happened is you had the United States. You could say we made a mistake by when we pulled the Ba'athist. The Ba'athist controlled Iraq's military, and basically we decommissioned them. All right, and so the movie The Green Zone portrayed this picture that they're trying to. They're trying to paint this picture that there was a Iraqi general, and this huge disaster by what the United States was about to do, which was dismantle the Ba'athists in Iraq's military. And the CIA knew it, and they wanted it to happen because they're a bunch of mustache twirling sons, right? Well, the reality is that the Ba'athists had control of the military, and they were going to go after, what was our goal? Our goal was to create a coalition. The Sunni didn't want that. So they were going to go after the Shia. And so that's why they decommissioned it. Now, it might have been a mistake anyways, but in comes Zakari, right? Zakari is, I don't know if you guys know this, but he's killing Shia and he's killing Sunni. And he killed about 100,000 people before he got killed. So now here's what people don't realize. He was Al-Qaeda. And after he got killed, all right, that's when ISIS came along, and they killed another 200,000 people. That's how ISIS was created out of that. But he killed about like 100,000 people before it was over with. And what was his objective? His objective was to create such chaos in Iraq and in that area that they can create a caliphate, because he's seeing a power vacuum, or him and the people that backed him. So what do? You create turmoil. So you blow up a bunch of Shia and then blame it on the Sunni. Then you blow up a bunch of Sunni and then blame it on the Shia. And it was creating chaos. It was crumbling. That's what the Civil War in Iraq was about. It wasn't about the United States and what we did, even if we went in there for wrong reasons. That's not what happened. And this is what kills me about these movies. Because you guys, they're full on, all right? And I don't believe for a minute that the people who wrote these books that say this, I don't believe they believe their own story. And I can't believe people out there they go to Hollywood and it's like, oh, I watched that movie and this is what happened. You guys know better than that. So there is an argument that you could say, now, I mean, coming from the other side, you could say, well, if they didn't get rid of the Ba'athists and decommission the military, that Civil War would have never happened. Said who? Who said that? Abraham Lincoln? Did Jesus Christ say that? How can you predict something like that? How can you armchair quarterback something like that? So you have people in the coalition that created the coalition government saying, hey, look, it was a tough deal. But if we didn't decommission these guys, they were going to go after the Sunni. And then where's the leader of the Sunni faith? Iran. And then Iran would jump in and react, saying, "Hey, you guys, we're gonna protect our people." They'd get donations and everything else. It'd make them look like heroes. So you have that side of the argument. But the reality is that Civil War happened because of the Caliph, or attempted Caliph, by Zakari and his people. That's where that came from. I don't give a who said what documentary said what movie said. That's what happened. That's why we McChrystal, General McChrystal. That's why he went after. That's why it was so important to go after this guy. And so they, after they got rid of him, it just shifted gears, and then they started going after Syria and all. Until they completely got wiped off the face of the map. They're still around, but they don't have the influence that they did. But that's what happened. All right. So here, to make a point, that's what, when I say that the United States we're sick and tired of their shit. All right. They're the ones who caused that civil war. These radical nut jobs caused that civil war. That Saddam Hussein started a war with Kuwait, and then he wanted to start going towards Saudi Arabia. And so we have this huge, long history of these people writing books saying what they're going to do. And the only country to stop them is the United States. So we got to hurt the United States. And then, taking action on every one of their threats. And then you got these conspiracy theories out there saying, oh, yeah, United States, they just went over there. No reason, just a bunch of happy people. Iraq did have weapons of mass destruction. They killed 10,000 Kurds with the weapons of mass destruction. Why they didn't give them up or what they did with them, we don't know. But they had weapons of mass destruction. They did make threats and follow through on trying to create, Al-Qaeda, creating a caliphate. They did bomb our price discovery was. It was very important. You don't hear anybody talk about this because they don't know. So that's our reaction is to the CBI and to Iraq's financial their system that they're trying to create. And so that's how I look at it, ladies and gentlemen. This is what, it's a response. And this ain't a small response. Think about it. I went from, this is I believe in this 100% to where I'm on the fence. I still think it's going to happen. But these guys need to watch their shit because we're not screwing around. Do you understand how big these moves are that we've made? You have somebody who's part of the collective world. His advisors come out of Georgetown, all right? They don't like our energy markets. They don't like that whole setup. They're against it 100%. And they actually flipped and because, we have a common enemy.